Dennis, one of the things I really love learning about when I meet fellow entrepreneurs, especially ones who are super successful, is just kind of that origin story and how they came up with the idea. And we think it's formulaic, and that a lot of times these people they were really designed in their world to be a specific type of an entrepreneur. They know what they were going to do. They knew how they were going to get there, and that's not always the case.
No, I mean, I think there are some people that way, but you and I having lived in Nashville, there's many people that come to Nashville thinking that they're going to be a famous singer or a songwriter,
Mhm.
and then reality hits, and they have to find a real job. Um,
Yeah.
and there's lots of great universities in Nashville as well, and
Oh
so
yeah.
they come from all over. You get there, and because it's a really great networking town, and it's also a great entrepreneurial city. A lot of things happen, and today's guest, Channing Moreland, I got to meet her at a networking event a year ago, and her story is just amazing. And where her company's gone from and where it's today, and the fact that it started as two roommates in college. It's a great story if you're thinking about starting a business, or you've been in business for a year or two, or you've been in business for a long time. She shares a lot of insight and things that I think are just so valuable to help you grow your business and be successful.
Yeah. So as a co-founder with her roommate, former roommate Mackenzie, they founded Eva, which is a unique take on entertainment. And really, I never knew about this. Dennis is more close to this than I am, but he had a little bit more insight. But I really like this podcast. I think it's something that's interesting. So let's have a listening to what Channing's got to say.
WFH with two guys. Now here's Benny and Dennis.
Dennis, I love learning about fellow entrepreneurs and the way that they founded their companies, the kind of the mentality and the thinking when it came to actually coming up with their idea. And more so nowadays, I'm actually taken by unique ideas that I would not have figured out on my own. And it's something that obviously there's some insight into that. And I know that you and we have different stories, but that's always fascinating to me.
Yeah, I always love to hear stories about where people started, how they got there, and what they're doing and what they learned along the path. And I got to meet Channing, gosh, I guess about probably almost a year ago, at a networking event, and we heard her and her partner's story about how they got started. And it was so, when I left there, I was very uplifting. It was like, okay, you can do this. There's hope, and there's days that there's challenges, but hearing her story was just really powerful and uplifting. So I asked Channing to join us because I think it's just a great story of, if you're thinking about starting a business, or if you've been doing a business for a few years, just hearing how her and her team have navigated through all these different challenges.
Channing, thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you both so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here and getting to
Yeah.
talk to you both.
Well, let's start here at the beginning. You are the co-founder of a company I find really fascinating called Eva. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Yes, it was a really unexpected start that we had. So what we do is it's called Eva, and where we started and where we are today is very different, but still aligned in our core values. And today we are a entertainment marketplace with vetted talent that can be booked for corporate and private events. And so we started in music. Definitely going to talk more about that. So we book live music, keynote speakers, celebrity talent, interactive experiences, really anything a brand might need to book, we do it on our platform.
Dennis, I didn't even know that this was something that existed out there. I have to say,
Yeah, I mean, because I've been in corporate America, and they have, HR always has events, and people would show up, and you just kind of wondered, where did they come from? A lot of them were, people knew people, invited them. Channing is involved in it. I mean, they've got software and technology and AI that really then takes it to a whole different level. But I mean, it's the story of how they got here is what's so cool.
well, yeah, well, let's start there. how'd you come up with the idea? And you said it didn't start out this way. Tell us a little about the origin of Eva.
Definitely. So, how it all began way back when is my co-founder and I, her name is Mackenzie Stokel. We actually just happened to serendipitously walk into freshman orientation at the same time at Belmont University in Nashville. So we got paired as roommates and we were just navigating those first early days together, and we became really fast friends. And with what made us become such fast friends, I think, is our shared passion for live music. It was pretty funny. We were probably at more live shows our freshman year than actually in school, to
In
our
Nashville, that's
parents'
easy to do.
exactly. And so we just became obsessed. And a couple months into our freshman year, after already probably seeing hundreds of shows, we started just really talking about how difficult it felt to have a college community in such a big bustling city, but it feels so disconnected. And when you have such talent and all this music and you're not 21 and you can't get into any of these venues, there just really wasn't places for college kids to go to experience it. And so Belmont would create, we would have house shows and a house of it, and have different kinds of live music and whatnot. And so through that, our very first technology platform idea came to be, and we built a events discovery platform to help get college kids more connected to their cities. That was our first dive into building technology. We made every mistake in the book. It wasn't a good business model. We weren't actually making money, but it was a way to just get started and learn and kind of fail fast. But through that, we started producing our own events and festivals to be on the events discovery platform. And we started booking hundreds of acts ourselves. And through that, that's when the real aha started happening, when we saw how inefficient it was to source, book, contract, pay, insurance, tax vendor management, like all of those things to try and do that. If you weren't even if you were a professional, we later learned how difficult it was. But that's when we really started understanding the bigger concept of what we were going to build. So that was about 2 years after our first events discovery platform build. So we were juniors, seniors in college. And so then we built the very beginnings of Eva.
Wow, that's fantastic. And so it's really it was an evolution, right? A lot of times I talk to people who are thinking about starting a company, and they recognize a specific area that they have a need for that might be, addressable in the marketplace, and suddenly they realize it's not at all that, it's something else. And obviously you recognize that. And was that something that was overnight for you, Channing, or was that you and Mackenzie kind of said, over a period of time? Was it a slow realization, or did a lightning
Mm.
bolt come from the sky and hit you guys square between the eyes and tell you what to do?
I wish it was a lightning bolt, Benny. It wasn't at all. We floundered our way through it because even when we built Eva, the very beginnings of that,
Mhm.
being this marketplace that connects talent, well, we only knew the college demographic at that time because we were still in college. So we actually started bringing Eva to college campuses,
Mhm.
and we were boots on the ground, going to different campuses in the Southeast. We knew this wasn't our ideal target market. We just didn't know any better. So it was amazing grassroots marketing, sales experience for us where we had to really cut our teeth. But we didn't achieve true product fit, I think, for years. And that then smacked us on the face when that happened. But it took time and painstakingly a long time. And then finally, we were continuing to build it on college campuses. It wasn't working well. There was so much churn. And then all of a sudden, corporate came and started utilizing the platform. And
Hmm.
so we had ESPN, BMWs, BMW, Goodyear tires, like all of these different brands and their professional event planners utilizing the platform. It was actual product market fit. We didn't even know at the time that's what that was, but
Hmm.
now looking back, we can see
And then
big time.
in that process, as you were building, COVID hits, if I remember right, correct? In
Mhm.
the middle of this.
Exactly. So it was
Uh,
hilarious, such a typical founder story because we start seeing product market fit in 2019. And that's when we started scaling in corporate. And then I'll never forget, we had it was that typical story where the biggest month of revenue was going to be in March. We were really starting to feel like we were getting figuring it out. Of course, COVID happens. We're a live events company and for corporate. It could not be,
You hit the
just
wall.
more
I mean, you hit
set
the
up
wall.
for failure.
Right.
Yeah. And then, I mean, I'm so grateful. We had an amazing an advisor recommended, like, hey, as a startup, if there's a couple of good relationships you're going to do, go find a really good personal relationship with a banker. And so I had a great relationship with an entertainment focused banker, Brad Peterson at Regions, and he saved us with the PPP, getting it in at the time we did, being able to have that cushion while we pivoted and figured out what we were doing. We would not have been able to sustain or keep going if we hadn't gotten that. So that was
sure.
huge. But then we were able to really take some time to throw everything at the wall and figure out what we were going to do next.
So, did you have a mentor through this whole process, Channing? Is this something that you guys it sounds like you got some experienced business folks that kind of give you some advice.
Definitely. We would not be here. We would not be where we are today without our mentors and advisors.
Um,
Uh, I'm glad that Mackenzie and I had the foresight to understand, as first time founders and never having a job before, there was going to be major gaps in our experience
um,
that we needed to get some insight from experts. And so, something that I found for us is it wasn't one mentor throughout. We found that we needed different mentors and advisors for different parts of the business and different phases of the business.
mhm.
So, I've actually struggled a bit with the common concept of an advisory board because I have found it's not just these four people for life. Like I'm having to kind of bring in new experts at new stages. So we've found a way to navigate that, but I have, we've needed so much help in so many different areas.
One of the things that you said there kind of it keyed with me is that as you evolve your business and it becomes something that it wasn't into something different, you need different people with different skill sets and expertise. I can tell you early on in my career, and this is actually going back into Nashville, Dennis, is there's a gentleman who is very, very successful building. He does residential neighborhoods in the Nashville area. I'm sure you too would be familiar with them. I you know they were just beautiful houses, and he would give me some advice. I was in technology and it really didn't fit very well in certain aspects. There's some great advice that he gave me and I love him for it and certainly helped me out. But being able to recognize people and you can identify who could be the right folks at the right time. I think that's probably a little serendipitous too, isn't it? You
For
what is,
sure.
what does it say? You ask and then the teacher arrives or something like that. I think
Hmm.
that's important. What I'm really curious about too, as well, and Dennis and I have not done this before, but it's a lot of our guests, a lot of my friends have done this is fundraising in
Mm,
general. You mentioned about the banker being able to help you out with PPP loans, um, but have you all raised money either through angel or venture capital? Have you guys done that?
yes. And that was a very unexpected role that I took on and now have owned ever since for the business. I mean, I was a songwriting major. I did not go to school for business, let alone finance.
Hmm.
And it was really crazy. I mean, how it even began with fundraising was that very first business that we started in college. I was just talking to one of my mentors from middle school and high school, just catching up with him after it's been a couple of months. I'm in college and I'm just telling him about this idea I have. And he was like, I don't know what you're talking about, but you need to talk to my brother. He's been interested in investing in the music industry. And should he have invested in me? Should I have taken that money? Who knows? But it ended up starting this. And
Mm,
I am so grateful to him. He's still on our cap table. We have an incredible relationship. I am forever grateful. And that unexpected moment of him holding out a hand and me accepting went on to carry on. And then from there, we actually raised from angel funds, family offices, VC. We've been conservative with raising just because we knew we would, if we took too much, we'd spend it in the wrong place. So over our 10 years, we've only raised 3.5 million, but that's still sizable and decent sized rounds. And having to navigate that and investor relations and all the mechanics of that structure of the rounds. I mean, it was like being thrown into the fire for sure.
yeah. So in that, since you've been doing this for 10 years, and I know people, they've asked me, and I've never had to go out and raise funds. I've bootstrapped, and I don't, Dennis has too as well. Um,
Amazing.
has fundraising changed over the course of the 10 years? Is it about the same? Is it vastly different? What's that look like today?
It's vastly different
Yeah.
in every regard. It's really wild to see just from when I came into the fundraising space to where it is now. It's even been wild. I'll go to venture capital conferences and it's like the pendulum just keeps swinging back and forth on what they're talking about. But I mean, for first off, COVID, that was insane for every single industry, especially the capital markets. Typically, venture capital tends to experience things a few years sooner than other markets, just because they're so on the front of investing forward. And so then you have the SVB, Silicon Valley Bank collapse. That
Mm,
was insane for the venture market. And you have AI. I mean, it's just been crazy. But the big change I've seen is 10 years ago, it was like, raise as much as you can, be the unicorn, don't worry about profit, just grow, like be the Uber, go spend $1 billion and not be profitable. And I think that was a short-sighted way to think about building a successful business. And so then it drove entrepreneurs to be like, oh, I don't have to really think about my business model. I just need to go grow and grab up market share. Now we've completely seen this pendulum swing, and we're hearing venture capital say, hey, actually, we want you to build a good business. And, yeah, grow really fast, but like, let's, I know, right? Isn't this
crazy
crazy?
idea.
Crazy idea. And they're like, let's actually invest, but let's be a little bit more mindful of that. And so you've seen them kind of have to pull back a bit. And then I mean, they used to look at a company like me, we've always been lean. We've always got operated off the lean startup mentality. We've always had as minimal of team members as possible, carrying as many jobs as possible. We've never bloated the team with a fundraise that thus we can't. We knew we had to keep things lean. But you would see startups go and hire 20 people, fire 20 people, hire 20 people, fire 20 people. And so what they're saying now is they're like, hey, it's really good to have a small team. You can actually use AI to augment. Like, we want you to be nimble. We want you to be lean. So it's just so funny. All that to be said, what I recommend to a starting founder is there's this analogy I've built in my head to stay sane, in that you have an island that you are on building your business, but you have a boat and you can go to the mainland anytime you want and get advice, get insight, hear, go learn. But you have to go back to your island and build. And now take, just like you said, Benny, maybe this advice is really good for the building residential market, but
Mhm.
maybe it just doesn't apply to me. And we have to have that kind of discernment as founders of what applies and what doesn't, what maybe does, while always being open. It's a hard thing to balance.
Yeah, I bet. And so, if we kind of fast forward to today and we look
Hmm.
at what Eve has done, and uh, how do you look at the business? And then what I mean from that is it's vastly different than what it was when you guys started in down this road 10 years ago. What do
Hmm.
you see for Eva, a year from now, 5, 10 years from now? Is it going to be the same? Is this a market? Do you guys look at expanding into doing different things, or do you think this market has a lot more room to grow?
I think it has a lot more room to grow. And if anything, I wouldn't wish the pandemic on anyone, of course, but
Cool.
oddly, it was a really unexpected silver lining for our
Mm,
business because I think it forced us to throw everything away in a way. It when we were growing, and it taught us yet again as a founder, like, you may think you're only gonna do 1 pivot in your business. No, you might do 10. And just to constantly be open to evolving for what the market needs and where it's going, or else we die. We can't not iterate. And so we constantly have our heads up. We're looking ahead. What trends are we seeing? What do we need to be thinking about? Never safe almost in this way. Like, yeah, we're not in survival mode, but we gotta be on our toes of where it's gonna go. So I think obviously AI has a lot to do with that. Just our business, the events industry, it's interesting because I would think that events would get cut in tough economic times, but I think post-pandemic, companies are seeing the value of employee retention and outreach and marketing and being together more important than ever. But I don't know, where will that go? What's going to evolve? What is the economic
Yeah.
market going to cause and headwinds? And so we're constantly just trying to see and try to create a more sustainable foundation for ourselves and new revenue streams. We are adding a lot of tech to our business, even more than what our core foundation is. We're thinking about APIs that we're building out to go plug into larger channel distribution, building out our own proprietary AI. So there's just a lot there that we're trying to stay ahead of.
Yeah, because you're kind of like a matchmaker because you've got the corporate people that you're selling to, but then you've also got all the people that you're representing to get to those events. So you've got to kind of play both sides of the equation, right?
Oh yes, the love of a marketplace. We It's constantly a struggle. And yes, the cliche chicken or egg, it's such a real thing. And we've gone every which way, both chicken, egg, chicken. So it is hard. But what we have found is we have a playbook on launching both sides, and we try to combine those together and align them up as much as possible. But ultimately, they are two businesses, two customer sets that we have
Yeah.
to grow and keep happy.
y- you mentioned, and this is something that I'm really fascinated with. Um, you were a songwriting major. That was at
Hmm.
Bell. What was Mackenzie as far as her major?
She was music business.
Okay, music business. Okay, was it your dream when you landed in Nashville and you were gonna start there? I'm gonna I'm going to start a company, or were you thinking you were just gonna get do this major and start working in Nashville and work for a company? Was that kind of your thought?
Yeah, what's so weird is I had no idea what I was going to do because
You're the only one I've ever met that's been never know what they were gonna do. I'm just kidding.
right?
Yeah.
I know. I just, cause I didn't even, I think I was so just open to what Nashville was going to be because I wasn't planning on going to Nashville in the first place. I was a classical violinist. Like that was my thing.
You're from
I
the
thought
New England area. I felt like Berkeley might have been like where you would have ended up.
it felt too close to home, honestly. But
Ah,
then the most hilarious part, this is what's so funny. So I grew up playing classical violin, didn't really like it. I started picking up other instruments, started more writing and doing the songwriting. I went and applied to Berkeley with violin, didn't get in. I was like, "Isn't this all I've done in my life and I didn't get in here?" I was like, "That's horrifying." And so then that's what led me to just go, "Screw it, I'm just gonna apply to songwriting at Belmont." I don't even know what that is. So kind of sight unseen, I get to Nashville and I'm like, "Well, this is already not the plan, so let's just go." And then it was the best unexpected thing that could have ever happened to me was coming
It is
here.
amazing how doors open unexpectedly. I mean,
Totally.
I talked to lots of different business people and where they thought they were going and what turns out to be is radically different.
Exactly.
yeah. Channing, I have to say this. I've really enjoyed this conversation, and there's so many more questions that I have written down here that we just don't have the time to get to, and um, because of that, I know Dennis and I would love to have you come back, and maybe we could ask you some other things that you run into. But I
Would
know
love
there are going
that.
to be some people who are going to be really interested in your story. They're going to be they might be interested in understanding a little bit more about your business. But what's the best way for people to get in touch with you and get a hold of you?
Absolutely. So, if just for kind of like light social connecting, if I'm on Instagram at Channing Moreland, just my name, and then Eva, if you want to check that out, it's just at Book with Eva. But we are also, if it's helpful to email me, if you have questions, want to talk more, just Channing at bookwithiva.com.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Chet, thank you so much for stopping by. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, there's so much to learn here, and I really love your story. Thank you so much for stopping by today.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
You've been listening to WFH with Two Guys. We'll see you next time.